You've been very open about your sexuality.
Yes, I have.
Has that opened the Pandora's box? Is it a doorway for criticism and attacks on your person?
I think it's important to say, to try to explain, because, I remember my mother used to say to me all the time before she died, she said, why do you have to go? Why do you have to go on television? Why are you on the radio? Why can't someone else do it? And I said it's important as we talk about rights, as we talk about freedom, as we want to make people who live in this skin feel comfortable and safe, that some of us have to put our face forward. It's not that, oh my God, this is a wonderful place to be, or to hear people saying some really not so good things on media, as you'll probably hear later today. But all movements, require people to step up to the plate, And for me, I couldn't do it anyway. I couldn't live in my own skin and not speak my truth in this way.
The conversations yesterday surrounded religious leaders, and initially this started as a Christian movement having the conversation saying we cannot allow these doors to open, we cannot allow the laws to be changed. I always make the point that people refer to this as the gay law. It's actually not. It affects heterosexual couples as well, just by the way. But you are a devout Anglican.
Well, devout is such a strong word. I could just imagine my priest and others going devout. We didn't see her in church in quite a while. But I am a practicing Anglican, I will say that, yes, and proudly so.
That conversation, or people listening to that statement this morning, will think it's an oxymoron because they, on a religious basis, and I think yesterday it was said, and it wasn't carried in the story, that man was made for woman, woman was made for man. And they see your lifestyle and your choices as against human nature.
And I will say, and I say that I respect your opinion. We are all entitled to have an opinion. Being lesbian is one of the characteristics of what makes Sharon who Sharon is. I am woman, I am black, I am Anglican, and I am lesbian, and I am comfortable in the skin that I'm in. And I will tell young people, especially when we talk to young people, that is a journey. We all have our issues and our phobias from young. We don't like how we look, or we don't like the size of our feet or our breasts or whatever. And then as we get older and we become more confident, I see our social structures, especially our religious institutions, because of the importance they play in our society, as being elements that are supposed to lift people up, build people up, create a positive environment where all people are allowed to live free from fear and harm. So when, you do the complete opposite of that, and young people say, well, look at what's going on, and they shy away from religion, and they shy away, and I tell them, look at the core of who you are. And I have a friend who always says, what would Jesus do? And that's what I want to ask our faith leaders today. What would Jesus do? Or whatever, whoever your religious, your God is, what would he or she do in this moment?
There's a conversation that there's an LGBTQI agenda in the media, and that we're influencing young minds to make immoral choices. That by you being featured here this morning and us having the conversation, that some young girl will decide that she wants to be a lesbian. And I've heard that simplistic.
And that's exactly it. And that's a simplistic notion that someone will see somebody talking and decide, oh my God, I'm going to become a lesbian. And I wish that was the case, because then, we could put people in positions of, we could put lawyers and doctors to sit on the television, and then we'll have a world of lawyers and doctors. But that's not the reality, and we all know it, right? Because most of the homosexual, same-gender loving community were raised in heterosexual households, We weren't raised necessarily by homosexuals. And how you're nurtured and raised does not determine your sexual orientation, And to say, and what I would say to young people, do not let anybody tell you who or what you are is bad. You're not. Being same-gender loving is as normal as being Black, Indian, Asian, Caucasian. It is part of who you are. And what happens with these mind games is that people get into your psyche, and for their own agenda, they do not have your best interest at heart.
I had a conversation with a pastor. She was a Jamaican pastor. Mm-hmm. She lived almost 30 years of her life as a lesbian. Mm-hmm. She's now on a mission to reform or to save the LGBTQI community, saying that the majority of persons who identify with this lifestyle are victims of abuse and trauma, mm-hmm. and it was safer for her to be with a woman and to enjoy a lesbian lifestyle than it was for her to confront the fact that she was raped and sexually abused by a man. Is that a fact? That it's a choice that you run for refuge?
And I will say, whether or not it's a choice, that's not the discussion. And I understand that people who experience trauma, especially when they're young, do what they need to do to survive mentally and emotionally and spiritually, right? But we cannot take our personal experiences and generalize for an entire group. I have never been, thank God, been a victim of abuse as a child. But that's not to say that I don't understand where she's coming from. But however, I tell people, we don't need to be saved. The LGBTQI communities are not asking to be saved by anybody. We're asking for equal protection under the existing laws of Trinidad and Tobago, and where those laws discriminate against a group of people, those laws need to be amended and revisited. That's what we're asking. So I tell the sister, I hear your story, I empathize with you, but go to counseling, and if you've been traumatized, and if you're a young person that's been sexually violated by anyone, please tell somebody, please get help.
We take a short break. When we come back, young persons on the impact of yesterday's discussion. Are we driving fear in their hearts and confusion in their lives? Stay with us. This is The Morning.